Evening, all. Welcome back to St Andrews, where we were last Wednesday, but this time playing Birmingham instead of Coventry. But the same outcome, another 3 points in the bag, a fourth successive win for Norwich, and 10 points clear at the top of the Championship with 14 games remaining. That doesn't sound half bad, does it? But that certainly doesn't tell the full story of tonight. Birmingham really did give Norwich a bit of a scare. They played very well first half, probably as well as we've seen any team play against Norwich recently. If you maybe don't include the Barnsley FA Cup game, if you sort of give Norwich a free pass on that one, they will feel hard done by. But it's fair to say in the second half they ran out of steam really, and Norwich did take control in the second half. They never had control in the first half, but they should have done. Teemu Pukki will take the headlines, will be the man in all the photos, will be man of the match still. He is my man of the match still, but he should have made this much more of a smooth night for them. He had the opportunity to make it 2-0 from the penalty spot in the first half, and it was a pretty poor penalty, but he scored twice. So that's 6 goals in 4 games, 17 for the season for him. So it is going along nicely. His first goal was an absolute cracker, one of his best this season. A left-footed drive that caught Neil Etheridge out, really, set up by Kenny McLean in the 26th minute. And just took it first time, and that's what you want from Teemu, isn't it? You just want him to rely on his instincts, take chances as soon as they come to him, because whenever he tends to dally on the ball, and that's when things tend to go wrong, isn't it? But it feels like his confidence is flowing in the right direction now, and probably would have been even more so if he'd have got the penalty, particularly if he'd have gone on to get a hat-trick. But there we go, we can't complain too much when Norwich are in the brilliant situation they're in. But Birmingham really did fight hard that first 20 minutes, and I think they almost caught Norwich cold, because we saw in the away game particularly, didn't we, that they parked the bus, and they have been pretty defensive this season, although their defensive record isn't great. They did win 1-0 at Sheffield Wednesday at the weekend, which finished a run of just 1 win in 13 games for them. They were 2 points above the relegation zone ahead of tonight, so it's been a tough season for them. And of course, Aitor Karanka, we know all about him from his time in charge of Middlesbrough, the playoff final in 2015, and that big game at the end of that season, that he is quite the pragmatist, isn't he? But I think he'll be really pleased with the ambition his team showed tonight, and he's got to take credit for the fact that they didn't just sit back and let Norwich control things. They pressed, they went after them, and they showed some attacking ambition. And basically Norwich just spent the first 20 minutes scrambling the ball clear, a few saves from Krul. They were just under heavy pressure, loads of crosses. There was one point Daniel Farke was raging, but about 20 minutes in, just sort of screamed a few expletives, including how many crosses. Norwich just weren't at the races. That, as I said, they'd been caught cold, and they were lucky to have not fallen behind, really. And at half time, well, my colleague Paddy Davitt tweeted that the away dressing room, as it is, it's sort of a function room / bar sort of thing below this stand, I believe, as I spoke to Daniel at the pre-match press conference about, in terms of the sort of magical mystery tour of away dressing rooms at the moment, because they were in a sports hall at Millwall in sort of a porter cabin at Stoke. But yes, they may have needed a few layers of paint on that temporary dressing room, because Farke would have been raging at half time. Pukki had scored that opener, and then he gets that penalty opportunity in the 35th minute. That comes, Vrancic plays the ball into the box. Pukki is beaten to the ball by keeper Neil Etheridge, and then Todd Cantwell is sharp to get the ball back, and it's rash from Etheridge there, the former Cardiff keeper, really to bring down Todd. And that's the opportunity. And you think with the form that Teemu's in, that that's going to be 2-0, and we've got a smooth night ahead of us, particularly as journalists for midweek games. You're looking forward to a nice, easy report to write. But thanks to Oliver Skipp's first goal for the club in the 5th minute of injury time, that wasn't the case. But anyway, after the penalty, the tide turns, and Birmingham come back into it, and it is Sanchez who scores the goal for them in the 38th minute, and it comes from Norwich playing out from the back. Christoph Zimmermann again playing tonight. Ben Gibson still just got that minor back injury. I'd be surprised if he's not back at Wickham. Zimmermann involved. I think Krul sold him short with the pass, to be honest, though. Maybe could have dealt with it a little bit better. But from there, Scott Hogan chips the ball into the box. Gary Gardner grapples with Grant Hanley. Skip dives in to try and stop Ivan Sanchez's first shot, which is really powerful and low. And initially, Krul makes a really good save, but the ball rebounds out, and Sanchez reacts before Hanley and is able to prod into the net, and that's the equaliser. And then a few minutes later, it should have been 2-1 to Birmingham. Gardner, who was probably Birmingham's best player, he seemed to be all over the pitch for them tonight. Played Scott Hogan clean through, and he really should have been at least testing Krul, but he curled the ball over the bar, and that was a big let-off for Norwich. And just before the break, Max Aarons had gone down in a heap. He looked like he turned his ankle, and at half-time, it appeared like Kieran Down might be coming on, but he didn't eventually. There weren't any initial changes from Daniel Farke, and Aarons was fine. He had a bit of a sort of fitness test on the pitch at half-time. The physio's going through passing drills and stuff with him just to check his ankles all right. Max stayed on, and it wasn't until I think it was the 65th minute when Daniel made his first change, and start of the second half, the pace of the game had really died. Birmingham running out of steam a little bit, and Norwich starting to control possession better. Kenny McLean came into it, Todd Cantwell playing well, Buendia with a few good pieces of play, but Onel Hernandez did have an impact. Finally, we've seen one of those players coming back from injury making a difference, and he'd already done well on the left to get the ball to Emi Buendia, who had played Pukki through, and Etheridge reacted really well to sort of win the race to the ball, and Pukki knew that was a big opportunity. But Hernandez, it was his pace and his strength to get onto a Kenny McLean pass into the box, beat his marker, turned on the ball, squared to Emi Buendia on the edge of the box, who dropped his shoulder, and in real time I thought he just sort of prodded the ball through to Pukki, but it was actually a shot, and then Norwich get that bit of luck, a bit of fortune really. The shot deflects kindly through to Pukki. Etheridge is totally exposed, and he can slot it comfortably into the bottom right corner, and that knocks the stuffing out of Birmingham really. And from there, Farke can roll through his subs. Jordan Hugill came back in injury time, Rupp, Ida, Dowell as well. So that we've seen that a lot from Daniel recently, and we roll down the clock. But then the late sort of icing or cherry on the cake, however you want to put it, from Ollie Skipp, who I don't think has had a shot on target this season, has he? Or he certainly had not long ago. He may have had one in recent weeks, but I don't remember one. And gets his foot. Let me just hold my phone because the wind's really whipping round St Andrews. And it comes from Hugill clears a free kick into the box in the 5th minute of injury time. Good header clear, and then the Birmingham substitute, let me just remind myself the name, Mikel San Jose, misjudges the bounce of the ball essentially. Lucas Rupp is breathing down his neck, takes the ball and is clean through. He's got Hernandez to his left, and Ollie Skipp from somewhere with a huge burst of energy surges the length of the pitch, and Rupp really unselfishly just tees up Skipp to tap home in the 5th minute of injury time. And Norwich really let out a relieved bit of celebration then, because they knew how big that was. It almost feels like they sort of got over the hill tonight, but clearly they and fans cannot get too carried away. There's 14 games to go. Anything can still happen from this point. But with Brentford, Watford and Swansea all not playing till Wednesday night, Norwich currently sit 10 points clear. They won 4 on the spin, and you couldn't ask for much more really, could you? A 3-1 away win with missing a penalty. So although I've said the scoreline flatters them, if Pukki scores that penalty, they probably would have gone on to win more comfortably. And the way I put it in my report online at pinkin.com is that Daniel Farke has kept repeating this line recently, hasn't he, about don't worry about where you are in the league, don't worry about what Watford are doing or Brentford are doing, etc. They've done a lot of the hard work. They have been consistent. They've been defensively solid through so much of the season. They've got themselves in prime position for promotion now, haven't they? So with 14 games to go, Farke has said he wants them to target 80 points first, then you're almost certainly in the playoffs. You would be in the playoffs. And then it's 90, which will almost certainly secure your automatic promotion. It would. So that is where Daniel Farke has set the targets for. And as they stand tonight, they're on 67 points. So they need another 23 points from 14 games, or put it this way, 6 wins, 5 draws, 3 defeats. That seems like a reasonable record. And can you see Norwich losing 3 games the way they've been playing this season in the final 14? Seems unlikely, but if they win more than that, then of course they can even afford more defeats. They have done a lot of the hard work, and it almost feels like you can just see that little bit of the Premier League candle flickering at the end of the tunnel, can't you? At the end of this very strange season, as we've heard in recent days, very, very unlikely that there's going to be fans back at any EFL league games, regular season games before the end of the season. Maybe they're going to be using the playoffs as tester events, but it sounds like if Norwich get promotion and if they can win the title, then the chances of celebrations with fans are still unfortunately going to be pretty slim, which is a horrible thought. But if that's going to be the case, the total focus from the players has just got to be get it done as soon as possible, isn't it? And then hasn't it? Sorry, and then it's almost like they can start planning early for the Premier League. They can forget about this weird, stupid behind closed doors season that, in truth, as well as Norwich are doing this season, will probably be forgotten in the annals of time. When you're looking back in 20, 30 years, it will have an asterisk alongside it, won't it? The behind closed doors season, the coronavirus pandemic season. So they've now allowed themselves that bit of breathing space where they can start to contemplate things like that. And of course, they go to bottom side Wycombe on Sunday, which is the one game in this little run of four games against lowly teams that I was always worried about, because that's got prime banana skin status written all over it for me. That would just be so championship, wouldn't it? The bottom team, who are pretty likely to be going down, their first ever season at this level, against the runaway leaders. It's just the sort of one where just the sort of championship defeat result that you can see coming, can't you? But hopefully Norwich are good enough defensively to avoid that. You would have thought Ben Gibson will come back in, Zimmerman and Hanley. It's just they obviously know each other's game well, but it means Hanley has to move to the left. And we all like Zimmerman, we all rate Zimmerman, but the balance between Hanley and Gibson just seems to work, doesn't it? And particularly that benefits the passing side of Norwich's game. So there's that. Mario Vrancic again tonight, was okay, decent, but still hasn't really made that position his own. And Kieran Dowler still sat there waiting for the big opportunity. But it may well be that Onel Hernandez gets the start now and Todd Cantwell moves into the 10 role. We shall see. But you've got players desperate for minutes now, haven't you? You've got Adam Eder and Jordan Hugill both on the bench tonight who are desperate for minutes and desperate to compete with Teemu Pukki. But there we go. For all that we've just said there, another good night for Norwich. A 4th win on the spin, 3-1 here at Birmingham. Thanks very much for watching. Let us know what you thought of the game in the comments below. And of course, Pinkin.com is the place to go for all the post-match reaction and analysis. Ollie Skip's been doing a bit of post-match media, so we'll get some of that up for you in the morning. But for now, we will catch up with you ahead of the Wycombe game on Sunday, which is a midday kickoff, a game that's on Sky. And Adams Park, lovely leafy Buckinghamshire. We'll have to see if we can get me and Paddy both into that one. We're hoping so, but it's a very tiny press box, so can't say for sure. But there we go. We'll leave it there. Thank you very much for watching. We'll catch up with you soon.